This debate will center, as I said, they will try to target three sensitive areas: Punjab, Kashmir, and Northeast. The biggest problem is that the top has become a little detached from the rest of the administration. But we also need a system where, like the Chinese Communist Party, where they have a totalitarian system, a single party system, but they have created that kind of elements within the system that the information is going to the top. Namaskar, this is Pratim Ranjan Bose and you are watching Podcast with Pratim. We will discuss today about the CJP or Cockroach Janta Party protest that is making news. And this episode is titled as "The Government Must Listen." We will know what are my suggestions as we progress with this podcast. To start with, this agitation is substantially way below in intensity, agitational intensity, when compared to the farmer protest that was in response to the Farm Bill some 6-7 years ago. And it had, when I'm talking about the agitational intensity, I'm talking about the connect. So people could connect with the farmer protest more, whether the farmer protest was right, wrong, whether it was for only one section of the country, those are different issues. But the very vocabulary was known to people. That is not the case with the current protest. So it is targeting youth. And over the period, it will unravel how it is going to target the youth. Because right now, things are kept, I think it is purposely kept in secret. It has a playbook, it has a script, which they will bring out over the time. That said, I am not an alarmist. I am not at all alarmed at this moment, because I said that the agitation is far low in intensity and is not looking to pose any trouble in very near future. That said, there are very interesting points in this playbook. Number one, the farmer protest, the publicity part, it had huge publicity. That was more domestic driven. I assume this particular protest is more abroad driven, because I see a huge convergence in the domestic, whatever is being peddled in the Indian social media by particularly the leftist and the ultra-leftist segment. This is matching entirely with whatever is peddled from Bangladesh, and whatever is being peddled in Bangladesh is actually originating outside the country. Some bloggers located outside the country are airing those things, and that is getting replicated. So there is a central CPU in technical term, as we say in computer, somewhere outside the country in this issue. I think the primary failure of the government is failing to block the money flow from outside. It has recently amended the FCRA clauses. It should have done that way before. You just cannot imagine to be a powerful nation unless you are confident to take decisions. China took those decisions decades ago. You cannot just buy a protest in China. But you can do that, that is bad. Democracy didn't stop you from blocking resources from abroad. You could do that. So that was my point number one, that the government must listen. Secondly is, let us look at how they are now they will try to target geographies. So the farmer protest, we all know the South did not barely participated. North participated mostly. It was driven by Punjab and Haryana, but the other states joined somehow or the other because there was a political support to that. For example, West Bengal entered into it because the Mamata Banerjee government wanted to capitalize on the opportunity. And I remember those leaders were Tikayat and etc. were coming, making visits in West Bengal and addressing some crowds. You don't, after the farm protest, you haven't seen Tikayat. Tikayat was not a political personality of significance before the farm protest. He came and vanished. I'm sure that is the same thing is going to happen with this CJP and DIPK. So that time it had made some geographical connect. And as I see, the CJP protests will converge with protests. We have already seen Punjab trying to converge. We have seen Kashmir trying to converge or have converged. The convergence will be clear over the days to come. And there are great efforts going around in Northeast to create trouble over there. What this particular protest is trying to do, it will not have huge public support. It will not have. And in India, you cannot have, India is not a unitary country. India has a varied income and social, there is huge social discrepancy, income discrepancy. 8 to 10 states are rich enough. There are also states like West Bengal, which are as poor or poorer than the sub-Saharan Africa. So, in fact, West Bengal is poorer than Bangladesh. So, all this put together, and then there is a huge, wide difference in the total fertility rate. West Bengal is witnessing shrinkage in the very population that applies for NEET. So, that put together, you cannot create a nationwide buzz and etc. What it should try to create is pocketed and sporadic troubles. And it will try to do emotional blackmail. We can already see all those things. That said, there are many weaknesses. Once again, I just saw on Twitter that someone was actually was running a control room. It is one person. I'm sure there will be more like him. Someone was running a control room practically, wherefrom he was tapping the CCTVs and he was giving live feed as how to, suggesting, advocating crowd, how to move, where to go. Now, these are initiatives. These are security initiatives. We all know the Chinese CCTVs and etc. etc. It is just bad for a government to have waited this long. And it is just bad that they didn't stop all these CCTVs and they could have gone for, why couldn't they go for India Max? It was doable. You just cannot say that it was not doable. Back to the topic. So let us do the deconstruction of the CJP. You will see a couple of elements. Number one, it is diaspora driven. Someone is coming and becoming a hero. He is coming from Boston and overnight becoming a hero. So this is a diaspora driven stuff, and the money flow, not checking the money flow, is center's failure. Second is, it will surely have a Dalit angle. Nothing happens in politics just by chance. So that DIPK is the leader has to have a design, whether he admits it or not. What is contributing to this, to my understanding? BJP must go and check whether it's internal differences, and I believe that is the biggest factor which can play in this thing if it snowballs, is BJP's internal struggles. It has a huge struggle going on in UP, where you have a prime ministerial candidate appearing for re-election, and there are people who want to stop him. Couple of days or a month ago, we saw a huge 12-hour road blockade on NH44 at Datia in MP. It was done by a CM aspirant with known links to the bosses. So these are forces, and we saw in couple of, BJP has a typical character. It has a whole lot of traders in it. So when the government goes for a lot of that is the kind of legacy business, when there is a reform or something. So this section always comes back because they are status quoist. So the government must go and check, the BJP must check its internal organization. And I think it has a lot to improve. About the CJP protest, connecting the education. See, first thing that they raised is education system cleanup, which is a just demand. But let us go and check where from it is originating. The education was long under the control of politicians, local mafias, everywhere. So this mafia network was first disrupted by NEET, because the education, the investor politics nexus was disrupted by a central examination. So the education part, now see, the education part is getting disturbed once again, courtesy the technology and etc. So engineering degrees are getting worthless. The medical, it has a huge demand, of course. So all these put together, there will be pressure. And we all know that the NEET, which initially did a cleanup job, later was taken over again. This is partially due to the market scenario. If you have very high demand for something, that is bound to create some corruption somewhere. So that was partly, but there is little doubt that the government was sitting. They knew that the NEET is getting, it needs a cleanup, the system. I don't know, I didn't see much probe into this over the last couple of years. That should have happened. NEET was probably introduced sometime around 2017-18. So, a check, a recheck was always necessary. So why the government did not go back and check? Now, let me say the most important thing that the government must listen. This government is run by a few bureaucrats. I have no problem in a bureaucrat-driven administration, in a bureaucrat-driven system. My problem is if only a few bureaucrats are running the show, maybe 4, 5, 6, and the entire bureaucracy is demoralized. I'm talking about the good people in bureaucracy. As always, we have, this with all these caste reservations and etc. or whatever. So we have a problem with the quality everywhere. But then I see that the good bureaucrats, so they are demoralized. Their aspirations or their advices are not making it to the top. The biggest problem is that the top has become a little detached from the rest of the administration. They do what they decide. I'm sure that they have all the good intentions and expertise, but you just cannot run, or it is questionable if you have that expertise. That 4, 5, 6 people will run the entire country without listening to the rest. The rest will simply obey the orders. Why I'm saying this? I'm a strong believer that in the current geopolitics, in the current global order, and if we all of us have to follow the rise of China, Vietnam, etc. So democracy, and this debate was there. I think economists back in 2014, around 2014, they published a cover story that why democracy is losing its appeal. And it's a fact that if you are trying to, for this emerging world, if they are trying to grow faster, they just cannot take this old concept of democracy along. They have to devise their own form of democracy, because this democracy is being controlled by someone else, and that someone else doesn't want to give you a chance. So let's shift from that. So we need centralization of thoughts. We need a system where someone will pass the order and the rest will obey. Fine. But we also need a system where, like the Chinese Communist Party, where they have a totalitarian system, a single party system, but they have created that kind of elements within the system that the information is going to the top. The top must have its basket in full. It must see the bouquet before it takes a decision. And my problem is, or my concern is, that the top these days doesn't get the full view. So this is where the basic problem is. I used the CJP protest to tell the Indian government that it must listen, that its bureaucracy, its systems need an overhaul. I don't think that till now, I don't think that the CJP protest is going to create a major problem. The government has got activated. I can see the movements. So this is not going to, and there are underlying political reasons, there are underlying social reasons why it must not go up to that level. So let us not be alarmed by that the government will know how to contain the CJP. They have to cut the money flow. So all these things should be done. But it must listen and it must overhaul its system. Thank you very much for watching this podcast.